guess we should.
I don't know.
That's why we're here, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Now for real.
You have to push play and record, too.
Yeah, now, right?
Hey, welcome to KLOS 50 in Reverse podcast. Thanks for joining us for episode 5, the legendary concerts, events, and promotions. Yes, KLOS is celebrating its 50th anniversary as a rock and roll radio station in Southern California. And over the course of that time, we celebrated and created numerous promotions and events that have become legendary. I'm Rita Wilde, along with my co-host, Stu Herrera.
Hello.
Stu, I have to call him a genius now, genius wizard. Joining us for this discussion are two gentlemen who worked for decades in the promotions department at KLOS, and they were an integral part of the magical ride that we all went on. Stephen G. Smith, a.k.a. the Lizard Killer, and C.W. West, both former promotion directors at KLOS. Stephen G., hello.
Hi, how are you, Rita? Very nice to see you and
so
Stu.
Wonderful to see you, too.
Yeah, I mean, really. Let's just look at each other for 35 minutes.
We had
You got to grow your mustache back, Steve.
I had a
will
beard.
if you will.
We had a lot of great years together. So that's the sound of Stephen G's voice, the Lizard Killer, and this is C.W. West.
I didn't kill any lizards.
What else did you killed something?
Probably did, but we don't want to get into that. It doesn't have anything to do with promotions.
That's right. So why don't you tell us a little bit how you guys got involved in radio?
Well, for me, I grew up in Southern California, North Hollywood, 93 KHJ. That was it. You know, we had our AM radio in the garage playing ping pong, Boss Radio. There was a program called 9th Street West that was a spin-off, a TV show with Sam Riddle as the host. And they were playing at the North Hollywood Park. They were doing like a taping there of Canned Heat.
Oh,
wow.
And I'm a kid. I have a bicycle, and I have a brother, and we rode our bikes over there, and we didn't tell my parents. And honestly, I was just fascinated with the station, with the music. Cam Nelson was the hot blonde that was on the show as well. And they had these trucks with cameras, and everything was set up, you know, and they lip-synced to one of their songs. And I was just like, it was mind-boggling to me as a kid to see all of this in North Hollywood. This is what I'm going to see on TV later, you know? So it really made a big impact on me, and I thought, I need to be in the entertainment business. Radio was part of the equation, film, television. I wasn't quite sure what. At one point, I thought I would be on the air and be an on-air personality, but, I don't have that.
No, you're good.
That personality. Oh, thank you.
I'd hire you for
Doing
something.
it right now?
Yeah.
All right, riveted.
So you got a degree in broadcast journalism or broadcast media.
Yeah, here's a little
Let's see,
patch. This is for, you guys.
wow.
There's a
Wow.
KHJ
Cool.
patch, and here's K West and
Oh, my
everything.
God. Wow, okay.
But I got my FCC license and all that. And,
How'd you wind up at KLOS?
well, I was at Cal State Northridge. There was an internship program. I really wanted to do an internship because I thought, well, that might lead to some kind of job. And there was an internship available at KBC Radio in the editorial department, which I had no interest in whatsoever. Honestly.
They were the top station, man, too.
Yeah, I mean, talk radio.
Yeah.
And it was like researching and writing editorials for George Green, the president and general manager over there.
Wow.
And I went in there and I said, I really appreciate you meeting with me, but this isn't for me. I'm more interested in what's going on across the hall at KLOS. Because I was a young kid. And then the person that I was interviewing with introduced me to Nell Kane Benton, the community relations director, and we just hit it off. And she was my friend and mentor forever. Yeah. And one thing led to another, volunteering and being in the community relations department and being in the right place at the right time, having a truck, hauling stuff around. And it was like almost a 21-year career.
I'm going to use one of Brian's lines. A 30-minute podcast.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, so what I
CW?
Yeah.
Is that what that means?
Yeah, are we done? We're wrapping up already?
No.
Thank you, everybody. Oh.
Good night.
So how did you get it?
For me, I grew up in Northern California, and I was listening to mainly an FM radio station called KSAN, which was kind of the real underground FM radio for San Francisco. And I'm like, this is awesome. So I wound up going to college down in Southern California. I interned a summer at KSJO Radio in San Jose, and then I came banging on the door for promotions, and Stephen G was there, and I said, I want to intern here. And that's how I got into it. I just had the passion, loved the music, and can't play any instrument, can't sing, can't do anything else. So I'm like, how do I get into this industry? And it kind of fell into my lap. So I just kind of kept following it from there.
A lot of people, I think, would think, wow, what a dream job if you're a promotion director of a big old radio station like KLOS. Say, for example, this year, if Led Zeppelin got back together again, if they did and did
Some
that
of
tour,
them.
you would come, automatically to KLOS. KLOS would have carte blanche. KLOS would have all the T-shirts and the signage and all that, but it doesn't happen like that, does it?
There's a lot of drama. There's always drama, and there's always radio wars, and there's always, the competition, and we want something, and the competition wants something, and it's kind of building it and putting it together and trying to create something so you look cool and the listeners look at you like you own exactly what it is. But yeah, and, we also have the legal department at many times that gets their foot in the way. But yeah.
Steve, did you ever have any issue with, concert promoters? Or?
I have lots of issues. I'm having an issue with you right now.
Okay, sorry,
Cutting my time
It's
from
okay.
before. I was rambling.
Use it up now.
There were lots of hurdles to climb over. It was the best job ever.
Absolutely.
Looking back at my career, my life, and all that, it's like, wow, working for a rock and roll radio station at its prime in KLOS. But yeah, I mean, Mark and Brian, for instance, they would come up with some harebrained idea and it'd be like, what? And like we try to figure out, how can we do this? Do we have the budget? Like you want to dip yourselves in chocolate.
Time.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that was one of their first big promotions. So literally, they said that let's dip ourselves in chocolate for Valentine's Day.
Well, yeah, there was a conversation about. They had started in September of '87, and that February 14th, it's like, we want to do something for Valentine's Day. And we just ran around some ideas, and it was up to us, to figure out, okay, we're going to dip you. How do we dip you in chocolate?
How do you find a vat that big? How do you get chocolate, that much chocolate?
You open up the yellow pages and start looking for,
you
call
you go to your
C's.
computer, man.
We were right down.
There was no
Let me
Google.
ask you. KLOS is always right down the street from C's. Did that play a part?
Well, I went to them and said, hey, we need a bunch of chocolate. And they said, no, thank you. So we went to Smart and Final, actually.
Awesome.
And then we just kind of had to think through the whole thing. Like, okay, we're going to hoist them up on a crane. We got to have them in some kind of gear. And I actually tried one on, and I fell out of it.
The harness, right?
The harness. I'm like, okay, this one doesn't work. How much chocolate did we put in there? We're going to, and we kind of choreographed the whole thing and ran it by them. And said, okay, but first of all, we had to get Bill Summers, our general manager, to approve all this.
How did that go?
And he said, I said, I just laid it all out for him. And like, here's the budget, $5,000. We're going to dip these boys in chocolate.
And $5,000. $5,000. You want me to spend $5,000 to tip these guys
Why don't we
in
just
chocolate?
take the money and burn it?
Yeah, but I said, this is what's going to go down. We're going to get TV crews down here.
Sure.
We're going to photograph it. It's going to be great radio. It's going to be fun. It's going to be so unique and different. And so we did it, and on the radio. And the funniest part of the story is we dipped them in chocolate. Everybody, who heard it knows what happened. Then we have to get them out, clean them up, and get them back on the air, right? So we go around the back of the guard shack, Roger's guard shack, and there's a hose. And you know how hoses have warm water, and then it gets cold real fast at like 7:30 in the morning? So it's like, this isn't working out because they're like,
It's like that scene at the end of Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
You guys have been to county. Here it comes.
Exactly. So I said, okay, let's go down it was a long building, on La Cienega. And we go in the side entrance, and we'll go into the bathroom. So we go in there. They shed all their stuff. I have my foot on the door. I'm the only one in there. They're completely naked. We got chocolate all over them. There was some shrinkage going on, I'll be honest. And we cleaned them up.
Are you sure it was all chocolate?
Oh, God.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Come on, I had to go there. Come on,
sure.
boys.
So we cleaned them up and got them on the air. I remember Arlo, the salesman Arlo was banging on the door. I got to go to the bathroom. And like, go to the other one down the hall.
You just want to see them naked, Arlo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
So I've seen more of Mark and Brian than most anybody.
Mark and Brian certainly brought a lot of different things to the radio station. We'll talk
Stress.
about some of that. But even before that, we had a high-profile personality in Fraser Smith.
Yeah.
Were you here for Fraser Smith?
Yes, yeah. Fraser was great. Very creative. The 2 hip card, party animals, and all that. In fact, I have a little surprise to show you. It's a visual this is great for the podcast.
Cool.
It's perfect.
But here's
We're gonna take a lot
number
of pictures.
007, the 2 hip card, my 2 hip card.
What?
We made those,
Whoa.
and
007.
I like James Bond, so I took, Fraser had number 1. I don't know who had 2 through 6.
That's
but
awesome.
Here is a backstage pass for Tommy Two-Tone with Fraser Smith opening up at the Universal Amphitheater.
Wow.
And that was a proud moment for us because here's our morning guy at the Universal sold-out show.
Yeah.
And he did his act, and he was really great with all of that. So,
And wasn't there a movie that he did as well?
It was
And
called
they-
Tag.
And they closed down one of the major...
Westwood. It was in Westwood. He came in on a tank. I know you talked about that with Tommy on the Tommy podcast. And, he came roaring down the street down in Westwood, California on this tank, and that's how he arrived at the premiere of the thing.
I've noticed Fraser. I just kind of stumbled upon something that Fraser did back in about 1982, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it's worth Googling. There was a band called Helix that had a song called Heavy Metal Love, and I think that's the track. Yeah, and the video is it had to be banned on MTV, but it's on YouTube, and Fraser has a starring role in it.
Oh, cool.
Right up front. And I don't know if that rings a bell.
No.
Well, when we're done, you got to look at this video because there's no way it played on American MTV.
Oh, okay.
So so he had a lot of great years with Fraser Smith, high profile, and then there was a couple of years where it was kind of like quiet, and then all of a sudden, 1987, Mark and Brian come in, and they did things that were just like, okay, nobody is really doing those before, and we want these things done, and you guys have to figure out how it's going to get done.
Usually
For
in
example,
a small amount of time.
Oh, like the day before Thanksgiving wedding, which I think
Parade,
day before Thanksgiving parade, probably like about 3 days before. Oh, we want to put on a parade.
Yeah, the first one I think was maybe the Friday before that, Wednesday.
Yeah, it was, they came to us and said, we want to have a listener parade going out the front door in La Cienega, which is a major thoroughfare to LAX.
Right.
And then we want to go down about half a block and come in the back thing, and that's it. And I said, that's funny, but that's La Cienega. We can't do that.
Yeah, you have to close it down.
So it's like, okay, so how do we do this? So we go to South Coliseum Drive between the LA Coliseum and where the LA Sports Arena was. And we set up shop over there, and listeners call in if you want to be in the parade. And I remember, it was 10:30 the night before the Clippers played, and I talked to them about moving bleachers from the arena in the middle of the night, getting it all over there, get the stage set up, the Winnebago. We always had a Winnebago at these things. And we had a scissor lift, and KBC TV came out, and they shot it, and they actually edited it all day long, aired it at 7:30 that night on Channel 7, and won a local Emmy for the show of the parade.
Really?
And my favorite was, and it was, I had this little moped that I'd zip around in because the crew would show up. There's a lot of ground to cover.
Oh yeah, and there were thousands of people out there too.
There's probably 5,000 for the first parade.
For the listeners,
Yeah.
Plus
Oh my God.
all
And
the
this is
listeners
in the
that-
morning.
that brought the floats.
Yeah.
And the entries.
The one entry that was my favorite was the 95 Harley Davidson Brigade.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
If you have a Harley, bring it on down. You're part of the gang. And so they would cut to a commercial break. They'd come back, and here's Lizard Killer Steve on his moped. And behind me was this gang of Harleys.
Blah, 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 blah,
Led
blah.
by our GM at the time, Bill Summers.
Yeah. Arlo had a Harley as well as sales guy. It was a great fun event.
There were so
Looking
many
back
of
on
those.
it, yes.
Looking back, it was fun.
Putting it together was just...
Murder.
It was murder. It really was. Because, A, we didn't know what we were doing. So
Did you need permits, lawyers, all that kind of stuff?
we had to get the lawyers. We had to get approvals. We had to get a release form for every single person that had to that appeared in the parade. We had to somehow coordinate and hope that they signed it. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, how do we get the order? How do we get the order to Mark and Brian? How do they know what's coming up? We need a description. And believe me, the first year was It went, and it probably sounded great, but it was chaos. And I think, once we got the years afterwards, we had a little bit more planning and figuring out what to do. So it really helped.
We did one in Fullerton.
In Orange.
Fullerton.
And in Orange around the circle. Yeah.
Orange, yeah.
Eddie Money played there. That was pretty cool.
They were...
Don't forget the Tubes in Fullerton.
Oh, that Tubes in Fullerton.
Tom Hanks was shooting that movie, That Thing You Do. So they had all these filming trucks going on. We had to work with them and bringing down 5,000 listeners and doing this parade through the circle in Orange. And that was a difficult one as well.
And this is all live too. So this is early morning live. So
it's starting at 7:30 in the morning, but we're there at
like
2 a.m.
4 a.m.
Did you have you got an annual budget every year?
Yeah.
It had to be 5 figures. Was it 6 figures?
In the beginning, what was it? Okay, you said $5,000.
Yeah, no, there was.
If one thing on everybody's whim
And
for Valentine's was $5,000,
and that was Mark and Brian at the beginning before they
really
There were some 6-figure
promotion budgets.
Yeah.
So like for bumper stickers.
Didn't mean we got to spend it all, Stu.
Well,
did you get to spend any of it?
Some of it.
I mean, there was outdoor campaigns.
Yeah.
TV. Producing TV commercials. There was spending
Stickers
cash,
for every concert.
decals, T-shirts.
How many Porsches were given away?
21.
21 Porsches.
21.
Yeah.
Porsches were given away.
But
And Harleys.
I remember Porsches being given away. I don't remember 21 of them being given
Trans
away.
Ams for Sammy Hagar?
Originally there were 7.
Yeah.
And my notes here, Fox Hills Mall, we gave one away on October 12th, 1985. That was the first one.
Oh.
And let me tell you something. The energy around here, you could just feel the excitement from the phones and people talking about it. And the next week, we're giving away another one, a 944 Porsche. I got to drive them out to the malls. We had to figure out how to do this. And then during that fall rating period, the 7th one, we had a big debate on, well, are we going to give $1,000 to each person? You get a key, you call in, 95th caller gets a key.
Right. One
of those keys is going to open the door, and the car's yours. And when we did it live on Saturdays at malls, Uncle Joe Benson.
Yeah, it was a great
And I was out there. And so we would, we had a fish bowl, and you had like about 2,000 or 3,000 people looking at you like, okay, here's the key that works, all right? And I would tell every contestant, like, there's 2 things you need to do. Number 1, don't break off your key that doesn't work in the jar,
right,
in the door,
and make sure you put the key all the way in, and turn it, And so the 7th Porsche, the momentum was building, and even Bill Summers got on the air and said we had a big debate over lunch on what we were going to do, and he came on the air and he said, the 7th Porsche will have $100,000 cash in the glove box. One person will win the car and
$100,000.
And because we're talking about doing $1,000 for 95, contestants,
right?
And we're like, no.
Each loser gets. So the consolation was going to be $1,000.
Loser gets $1,000.
You loser, here's $1,000.
There was a lot of...
They got a T-shirt.
Excitement. It was real exciting. And Uncle Joe Benson, God bless him, he was great with remotes.
Yeah, he did a great job.
And the whole thing was like getting out into the community and being everywhere we could and trying to find, new listeners and turn them on to KLOS. And, we're like, we're in a mall. We're, in Puente Hills Mall and Topanga and Brea and Galleria at South Bay. We're all over geographically. Wow. I mean, KLOS's signal is huge.
Still is.
Yeah. So we're trying to cover off, like, with the US Festival, the Inland Empire, and all that.
You just get a map of, a coverage map and see where the circles, the concentric circles go out to, and then just start plotting on that.
After a couple of years, I mean, those are all great things, but then after a couple of years, we got bought by Disney. And then that was a whole different kind of promotional element as well. We did Pirates of the Caribbean movie premieres and Mark and Brian riding their Harleys down Main Street.
Main Street, yep.
What other things?
Well, we did a lot of special nights there, which were great. We'd have 8,000 listeners there.
We had 25th anniversary there, didn't we?
We had a 25th. We had, I know we did a Pirates of the Caribbean one in 2000, I think it was 6. We had quite a few. The opening of Toontown. And where it was just, win tickets and come down, and you got 4 or 5 hours that night from like 8 to 1. and the park is open, and there's really not that many people there, and it was just a great, huge, humongous party. There's one for Indiana Jones
great.
Adventure.
The
opening.
Indiana Jones Adventure.
I think you were on this.
And all the jocks would be there, and they'd sign
on there, Rita.
autographs.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, there was. We had floats going down Main Street,
One
and
Paul, Remy.
it was. We do the
Suzanne,
broadcast
Eleanor,
in the
Randy,
morning, and then we
Scott,
would at night we'd have that private party for our listeners, and I remember it's like, and Disneyland, by the way, was fantastic. They were great to us. It's like, okay,
Even before they bought us, they were great to us.
Yeah, because here's the thing: is that when Mark and Brian came in, at first, honestly, I was a little skeptical of them, and like, okay, we have to meet these guys and figure them out, and what support them and all this stuff. But real quickly, things really ramped up, and they were becoming very popular very fast.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Promotion CW. We have this idea. We want to launch the Elvis Bob over the fountain at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. Get it done? Can you do that by next Tuesday? Huh? That Elvis Bob was this thing.
When?
The Elvis Bob was
The big boy.
the big boy.
They
And-
stole
Bob's
it.
Big Boy.
They
Stole it?
They actually
Yeah.
on the air.
Well, it was
They confiscated it.
Yeah,
borrowed.
they didn't.
Borrowed.
We don't want people coming back.
Borrowed.
No,
I'm
but
sure
but they
Big Boy
were
didn't mind.
They were made up to all the sorts of different things. So yeah, the Elvis Bob was on top of the Capitol Records building.
Yeah.
Elvis Bob was skydiving.
He was Frank and Bob at
Frank
the
and
drive-in.
Bob.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
God! But yeah, he wanted to be launched because they had this thing about Las Vegas
The parachute.
and the parachute, and then also the Snake River. I don't think we ever did the Snake River,
No.
but it was
that
like.
got into our budget went way over.
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
But it's
But
like
you looked at it.
It's like,
Yeah.
let's do it. Let's get it done, huh? Chop, chop. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun.
Hey, there's this Elvis head that's going to be in the Rose Parade. We want to drive it all the way across the country and drop it off in front of
At
Graceland.
Graceland. That's
Let's
a
get that done.
token.
Can we broadcast on the way? Let's do it.
Sure. That's
You're
the
bringing-
magic of radio.
You're bringing
Think of
back
something stupid.
some bad memories.
Right.
No,
Oh, yeah?
but they're
This is where the
great
stress-
radio
this is where the
memories.
stress kicks in.
They're great radio
I
memories.
mean,
No,
if
it
you
was-
have to have a headache about something, isn't it more fun to have a
Yeah.
headache about a crazy,
No.
Yeah.
ridiculous?
It was like, okay, let's make this happen. And
Most of it got done. Most everything they wanted. Most of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was. We were there to support them, and the other part of it is, Mark and Brian kicked off the whole day,
Yeah.
with your show and everybody else's show along the way. Bob Coburn and everyone, Gino Michelini,
Steve Downs.
Yep.
Joe Burns.
So we would it's like, okay, we've got the show going on, but we've got other day parts.
And that's one thing that you guys did is like you didn't, just have Mark and Brian. It was kind of spread out through everybody.
Well, we had the whole station. We had the other 20 hours to be promoting.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
you always
they-
did a great job with that, too.
Yeah, they just took up most of the,
it makes
most of the time.
That's how it's done. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about a couple of the big concerts, like the US Festival in '83. We talked about that on one of the podcasts. You brought a picture in from when we were doing that.
That was this
That
very
was the,
weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Just this past Memorial Day
weekend.
Well,
just the
and a few
anniversary
years.
of it.
Well, yeah, in a few years. I mean,
The anniversary,
of
right.
it.
Ah, yes.
So that
Yeah,
this
that
photo
was
has Bob
awesome.
Coburn out there.
Look at that.
Stephen G. Smith, Chuck Moshans, who did
Chuck.
news,
There's
Tommy
Tommy.
Hedges, our program director,
Gail.
Kel Murphy, and
Oh, that's Bill.
Bill Summers, yeah.
Look
Yeah.
at Bill.
Yeah, Bill Summers and Bob Coburn.
That's,
and Steve Downs was out there broadcasting
There was
live.
a lot
And I
of
think
others,
that was the
right?
one that I just started working like full time. I think here, and it was like a Saturday night, and I think it was Bob and Steve said, "Let's send it to the stage for Van Halen," and that's when he did drop the F-bomb on live on the air, and there's no, so that brings back memories for me. But like that, you guys kind of owned the Who concert. There was this big thing with KMET, and then all of a sudden, KLOS showed itself up on the map by.
Yeah.
Is that the parking?
Was there a pivotal? Was that the pivotal
Yeah, I'd say that was it.
show or event?
I was the assistant director of marketing and promotion. Steve Gaspar was the head of the department. And somewhere along the line, we came up with this idea that we can buy the parking because it's a separate entity from the venue. And those shows, by the way, were at the sports arena. There was a later show at the Coliseum.
Okay.
And so we're like, hey, I remember going down there and talking to the guys. It's like, okay, let's get this paperwork together. We'll write you a check for 5 nights worth of free parking, and we'll put up the banners and we'll hand out the Who decals. And, KLOS presents nothing. I mean, it's on the ticket. I mean, KMET presents the show, but we're giving you free parking. And if you had a 2-hip card, the first 95 people got a free KLOS Who t-shirt.
Yeah.
So let me tell you something. It was like brutal out there. In fact, I remember I had the phone number and the name of our ABC lawyer. Like I said, because there was a couple of on-air people from KMET that got a little testy.
That later came to work for us, I think.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah. And even listeners would come in because KMET was huge, the mighty Met.
Uh-huh.
And I loved the station. I respected them, but I worked for KLOS.
Yeah.
And so they would come in and go, F KLOS. I said, well, we got free parking for you. It's like, and I'm like, well, F you. I'm like, okay, so it's $10.
Make you happy.
Well, they're giving this look like, what? I'm like, no, but tonight it's free for KLOS. So just, thank you for coming. Enjoy the show. KLOS. Yeah. KLOS rocks. KMET rocks.
Okay.
And that was the guerrilla warfare. That was like getting in the streets with the Coal Patrol.
Way you could buy the parking today for any big show like that.
Not at $35 a parking.
Dude, I know parking is crazy.
Yeah.
It's offensive.
Yeah.
Well, Tommy was mentioning on the podcast that they made sure after that they talked and contacted everybody, and that never happened.
That never happened again. Yeah. But the fact that that it could happen once is that's magic, man.
Another show, the Born in the USA Springsteen tour. We're like, okay, we're kind of shut out of this thing. What are we going to do? And we made KLOS baseball caps that said Bruce on them inside the ring. Right.
And the red baseball cap looked like.
Yeah, it looked like the cap in his back pocket.
Yeah.
And then we made, I think it was like 10,000 of those and 100 E Street Band hats for the crew.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so.
And I remember a T-shirt, too.
Yeah, but the hats were the one. But this was like, back in the day, it was like, okay, send us a copy of your ticket and your address, and we'll mail you the hat. And we, in the conference room in the old building, it was labor, just really difficult.
Stuffing those.
Yeah, we were all in there stuffing.
We're all in there.
And there was a custom label, and wear the hat to the show. We're going to be looking for you at the show.
But then there was the stink with the label. Remember, we had to go through and we had to cut out all the labels because Bruce's management.
Yeah.
Because it said
label inside the hat.
Yeah, because it said KLOS welcomes Bruce Springsteen to the LA Sports Arena, the dates.
Okay.
And I think the fact that it said all of that, Bruce's management thought we were taking ownership, which of course is what we're trying to do. And they made us basically said, if you're going to distribute the hats, you got to cut out the labels. So we had to go through and snip all the labels out of 10,000 hats.
Oh, it was your label.
Yeah, it was a custom label in the hat.
That's the difference. That's that pivotal word, presents versus welcomes.
Yeah.
But we wanted exposure at the show, and it's like, we're playing Bruce. We love Bruce.
Yeah.
And believe me, as a promotion person and having mailed out, my share of those hats and everybody else, walking around that arena, seeing those hats going, I personally mailed you that hat. You enjoy it?
Yeah, enjoy it.
Seeing it? It was cool.
I've never seen one of those.
They're cool, yeah. One thing that always separated KLOS from everybody else, we always had a lot of fun, a lot of great concerts, Porsche giveaways and so forth, but it also cared about the community. The blood drive was one thing that was actually already starting long before I got here, and it still continues to this day.
Sure does.
And also all the we did Rock Relief for Africa. I brought in my poster tonight, so you can see that was signed by members of KISS and Dio and Supertramp and all those people that came in for that whole weekend. We raised that money. Fire victims, 9/11 victims.
Pet
adoptions.
Veterans.
Still doing it.
Veterans.
Too? Yeah.
Yeah, so
that was all. Yeah, it was one of those things. We had Nell Kane Benton, Community Relations Director. God bless her. She was great. Honestly, KLOS, an FM rock station, was like one of the first stations in the country, FM rock station, to get involved with community projects. And we just kind of felt like, you know what? We have great listeners. They love us. That we see them all the time. They talk to us, and we think that, if we come up with the right causes, they might be interested in giving blood. or adopting a pet, or buying a Christmas tree for charity, or buying the Mark and Brian CDs for charity. And they, everybody came through, the artists and the people that were on the CDs, the people coming out. It really, I remember being at the Forum, walking around and seeing hundreds of people in beds, listeners, talking to them, with their veins open, giving blood.
We did it at the Forum?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we started at Los Angeles High School on Olympic Boulevard. Nell Kane and I went down there and checked it out. It was the first year, and we're like, I don't know how this is going to go, but
yeah, because you don't think a rock radio station and drawing blood. I mean, it's like you think other things.
Yeah, but you know what,
Greg Allman,
I really consider KLOS being a classic heritage rock and roll station with listeners that have a heart.
Does it surprise you that it's still here 50 years on?
A little bit, because what lasts 50 years,
Yeah.
But it's really a testament to our listeners.
And to the people that were here.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, it's still a family. I haven't been in these studios ever. This is my first time in these studios. Yeah. But, it's just this community at KLOS.
I think one of the things that I appreciated, and I know the sales department's going to hate me for saying this, but
don't say it.
I'm going to say it. But I think our heart was there for the listeners. It's like we came in as listeners of music, and we knew what it was like to be, as a young child listening to that music and hearing it. And so when we came in here, it's like we want to do things as best we can without fighting with the sales department for the listeners. And it's like, we don't want to give away 1,000 taco certificates, but we want to do something else that the listeners really appreciate. And it was so nice at a blood drive when people come up and say, thank you so much for doing this. Or I remember we were it was a livestock concert, and we gave away a car, and the winner was there, and she just, I don't know how we connected, but she just broke down right there. Mm-hmm. She's like, I haven't had a car in 2 years. I've been trying to figure out how to get my kid to school. I appreciate this so much. And when you get that feedback, it's like that's what brought me to do this. It's like I wanted to do something for the people, for the listeners. And so, I think, so much of the thanks, I think, needs to go out to everybody that listened and
continues to listen.
Yeah, continues and
keeps
made such an amazing station
also,
what it is.
I'd like to give a shout out to the engineering department.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, Tommy on his podcast, we were there, and it's like we want to get out in the community. We want to be broadcasting live, describing the scene or whatever. But there, the Mark and Brian Mobile and concerts and all over the place, these guys would set it up and keep us on the air, and a nice, crisp KLOS signal throughout Southern California.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Except for one.
Can you hear me now?
Except for one.
Oh, no, the above and below show?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you! Yeah. You just can't hear each other! That was great stuff. But sales, that's the thing with sales. I mean, it's like
there's
the way
a compromise.
It's the way the business went.
Yeah.
And the salespeople here that we worked with, for the majority, were awesome to work with.
Absolutely.
Because they got it, they understood what we did, what we wanted to do, and tried to fit in clients that would work with all of that.
Yes. Yeah.
We all work together.
Yeah.
We worked together fabulously, and until we all left. Well,
You're still here?
I'm back. But
You're back, yeah.
Yeah, I left
I left and came
2009.
back.
That's right.
09. Yeah. I never left.
How long have you been here, Stu?
25 years.
Good for you.
June 6th.
June 6th?
Oh, wow.
I know.
Wow.
What?
25
That's
years.
fantastic.
And you were here how long?
Almost 21 years.
23 and a half-ish.
23. So I was here
That includes internship, but still working.
26.
It's working
I
for
think.
free.
There's 26.
26, and then, so now my calendar started again, so it's like
Oh,
26
wow.
and a half, almost 27. Screw you guys. What are you guys doing now, these days?
I am working for a company. We collect box office data worldwide. When you hear how much money these films made, we have 13 offices around the world. How much did Avengers Endgame make, or whatever the film is?
I picture you sitting in front of a mountain of stubs, just 1, 17.
Okay, start up.
But no, that was the pre, the daytime show, so that was only $7 as opposed to $17 at night.
Yeah.
Well,
Or 3D.
It's a multimedia measurement company. There's a lot of stuff for TV, video on demand. I'm in the movie group. We get audience demographic information and pre-tracking of trailers and all that stuff in advance. So we work with all the studios and small distributors and companies like Dolby Atmos and Realty and IMAX and people like that.
So Paramount hires you and tells, hey, how much money do we make?
Yeah.
C-Dub?
I am working for the Mouse again and doing special events all over at the parks and the
did you
studio.
have any way to get me into that Star Wars?
Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah.
Get
I want to
over
go to
it.
the Star Wars
Just
thing.
get- you can go
Make that happen.
after June
No.
23rd.
Want to go now?
Yeah.
There's a press event going on tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah,
Get
well,
me in!
I'm
Where's
not
all my
there.
friends at Disney?
I'm not there.
Hey, before we wrap this up, I want to show you, there's 2 things I was really proud of.
Okay, it might be the same one that I'm thinking of.
Well, when Mark and Brian first got here, they said, Stephen G., this is before I was a lizard killer, what is going to take, to say we made it out here? I said, well, a star on Hollywood Boulevard would be cool, and being a guest on The Tonight Show. So here's a ticket that I was in the green room.
Oh, we're going to take pictures of all this stuff.
And
that is
and
pretty
it was
awesome.
super cool to see them, these guys, and then they had their own Adventures of Mark and Brian show on NBC.
But we also want to do a drive-in. Can you find us a drive-in in Simi Valley? And we want to show this drive-in and invite all of our listeners down there. And
That to me, the hardest part was for CW because it's like finding the drive-in is one thing, but it's they're tearing drive-ins down.
Finding one that worked.
yeah,
And then
doing
trying
movies.
to find the film,
Movies,
right?
Yeah.
That was the hardest part.
On whatever it was, 35 millimeter.
Yep.
Finding Frankenstein on 35 millimeter or something like that.
But that was a really gratifying promotion because you didn't have to be the 95th caller.
Yeah.
It's like, just show up. The gates open at 5:30. Stack your car with kids. Bring candy for the kids, and we're going to do a halftime show.
Awesome.
And the drive-in would be just jacked up with people. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and the kids just
Thousands.
They
I
scored.
went to one of those and I saw, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. There was like Stupid Human Tricks. Was that was
Yeah.
it was called?
Yeah.
And there was a guy and girlfriend act where they took a chain and they snaked it through their noses and then into their mouth like a evil neti pot,
No.
but with a chain, not water. And then they kind of like did like a clothesline
we
thing,
had
and
ones that did spaghetti like
they-
that. But
yeah.
at that
That's
drive-in,
it. That's
yeah.
it.
that
entertaining.
happened. What's that?
That's very entertaining.
Well, it's scarring, is what it is.
What's the other one? The other thing.
Oh, it's the Tonight Show and then the Star on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
With
This
John,
is one for me. The Star in the Hollywood
with
Boulevard.
John Travolta and Billy Bob Thornton
Oh my
and
God! Yeah,
Kevin
coming down
Pollak.
there. Yeah, it was
It's still
amazing.
out there.
This is one of my favorites. I'm holding up a bootleg album that I have of KLOS welcomes Pink Floyd with the giant building painted pink, mind you,
Yeah.
and the big pig floating on top.
The inflatable pig from the tour.
That's awesome.
I think that was the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour.
Yep, it absolutely was.
And we had to convince our friends at KBC Radio that we're going to paint the building pink. We're going to fly this pig over the building. And I remember, and David Gilmour came down. The record label brought him down. But we have this truck hoisting this pig, and the wind is like whipping through La Cienega.
Nice.
And this pig is like, back and forth, left, right, and people are like taking bets that this thing is just going to topple
and so
over.
close to LAX as well.
Yeah.
That's right. They'd be freaking out. Yeah.
But that was classic.
Wouldn't be
And-
the first time it got away.
Yeah.
One of the promotions on that one was they did a sound check for I think it was, 25 or 30 KLOS listeners. There were no seat at the Coliseum, and there was speakers all the way around. It's like, okay, it's really, really tight, like 5 KLOS people and X amount of listeners, and we go in there and we saw Pink Floyd play about 8 or 9 songs. And you could walk to the front of the stage, to the back, wherever you wanted to go. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
What are you most proud of, looking back on your time here?
You, Rita.
You know what? I want to say something to you, Steve. You showed me one of the billboards, and there was a billboard that, thank God, you warned me the day before it went up.
Yeah.
We suck less.
No, not that one.
Oh.
There was a billboard that specifically had my name on it,
yeah.
and the caption was going, but it didn't say that. You remember what it said?
What did it say?
I'm not going to say it on air.
Why?
But it was
There was an issue.
Yeah. And thank God Steve said, Rita, you should know about this. It's like, yeah, I mean, this is my integrity. This is my person. This is myself.
This billboard says, "Walk on the Wilde side." Rita Wilde middays.
And
KLOS.
it was awesome because you put one up right by Anaheim Stadium. So thank you.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of, C-Dub?
It was just I'm just proud of the time I was here. I gave it my all while I could. I put up with the problem things with the lawyers.
Did you ever have a lawyer stop you from doing anything you wanted to do?
The lawyers finally asked, what would you do for Super Bowl tickets? Because they thought somebody's going to finally die and we are going to have a major issue. And you know what? I didn't blame them because some of the things we saw people do, I'm like...
Well, the guy swallowed his eyeball or something like that.
The guy bungee jumping... I'm just keep thinking, into the giant pile of, I think it was whipped cream or something. But I'm like, he's going to hit his head on this platform and he's going to die in front of these cameras or something. There was a whole bunch of things that were like...
The guy that ate the football, barbecued the football, and then ate
the football.
My favorite one, because of the promo that I had to make for this, was I got to really tell the story with sound effects. Was the dude who took how many darts in the ass?
Oh yeah, yes,
He painted a target on his butt, and then had his buddy throw darts at it.
And thank God his buddy could throw darts, because if he missed,
well, there was a guy who it was really simple.
Tape?
Yeah, exactly.
God,
he says, "I'm a very hairy guy. I have a roll of duct tape. I'm going to put it on me, and you can rip it off."
Wait, it wasn't. It was rip it off, but then he jumped into a kiddie pool full of alcohol.
Oh, that's right.
And it was like a cartoon. The minute he touched it, his body reacted to immediately kick him out. Like he didn't hit the bottom of that pool.
Paramedics are standing by.
Just like a total.
He hit this, and I swear, I'm like, I couldn't have believed it if I saw it again, but he bounced out of there.
Yeah, it's amazing. A lot of the stuff we got away with back then. It would never happen anymore.
I'll tell you, the thing that I'm most proud of are the listeners, the people I worked with, and all the folks, the countless number of people that worked on that community switchboard and came out for the Cool Patrol.
Yeah.
Everybody in our office, there's too many to name, but they know who they are. It was just a really tight team.
A lot of volunteers at that time.
Yeah.
In the early years.
And I'm grateful for the 21 years I had here, Rock and roll, man.
Special time. Thank you very much, Stephen G. Smith, Lizard Killer. C.W. West, two former promotion directors.
Great.
Thanks, Rita.
Stuart Herrera,
One last thing. Styx tickets?
All right.